How did Michale Burry predict the housing bubble? Hello viewers, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today in this video we will talk about how did Michale Burry predict the housing bubble. Michale Burry has been one of the greatest financial players, but unfortunately, not many knew about him since 2015. It was in 2015 that Paramount Pictures released The Big Short, which helped Michale make millions out of a prediction. He profited from the subprime mortgage crisis that occurred from 2007 to 2010 in the United States of America. Not many people believed Michale initially, however. He is known to have a lot of say as to how the market will move over in the coming years. Other predictions put forth by Michale Burry regarding the collapse in 2022 real? Michale Burry is an interesting figure. A one-time medical doctor, he made a fortune by correctly predicting the subprime mortgage crisis of 2008. We'll look at the housing market leading up to the crash, and what indicators Burry used to make his prediction. We'll also explore whether or not another housing bubble is on the horizon. Burry's prediction of the housing bubble was based on a number of factors. First, he noticed that home prices had been steadily increasing for a number of years. This was not sustainable, and he knew that eventually prices would have to come back down to earth. He also noticed that more and more people were taking out subprime mortgages. This meant that they were borrowing money from lenders who were giving them loans they could not afford. As the number of people with subprime mortgages increased, Burry knew that there would be more defaults and foreclosures. This would lead to a decrease in home prices, and he predicted that this would happen in 2007 or 2008. Who is Michale Burry? Michale Burry is an American investor, hedge fund manager, and physician. He is the founder and managing partner of Cyan Capital, a hedge fund he ran from 2000 to 2008. During that time, Burry achieved notoriety for his accurate predictions of the subprime mortgage crisis and the global financial crisis. Burry was born in 1971 in San Jose, California, the son of a Taiwanese immigrant father and a German-American mother. He attended the Pediatric Group, a private practice in San Jose, before going on to study economics and psychology at Vanderbilt University. After graduation, he worked as a doctor for a year before enrolling at Columbia Business School. It was while working as an analyst at a small investment bank that Burry realized his true passion was investing. In 2000, he founded Cyan Capital with $1 million of his own money. Over the next 8 years, the fund grew to $700 million in assets under management. During that time, Burry made some highly profitable bets against the subprime mortgage market and the housing market more generally. He correctly predicted that the housing bubble would burst and that this would trigger a financial crisis. These bets made him one of the most successful hedge fund managers of his generation. In 2008, Burry closed Cyan Capital to outside investors and returned all their money. He has said that he plans to continue managing his own money and will not reopen the fund to outside investors. Reliability of the predictions. Michale Burry founded a hedge fund in Cyan Capital during the year 2000. During the time, he was considered to be a wise and talented value investor. It was then when he attracted Joel Greenblatt and managers of the Vanguard Group. Cyan saw 55% returns when the S&P dropped by nearly 12% in 2001. Michale had then predicted the internet bubble, after which he delivered the profits to his clients. Michale Burry sold these profits by short-selling the most overvalued tech stocks. He solidified his reputation as a gifted investor by being successful repeatedly. Sadly, this reputation was not enough when asked about his predictions when the subprime mortgage presented the risk. Surprisingly, in 2005, he predicted that the entire housing market would collapse. Despite being a renowned investor, several clients refused to believe him. However, Michale was proved right in 2007, which cemented his credibility as an expert in the market. Possibility of a collapse in 2022? In mid-February of 2021, Michale stated, "The market is dancing on a knife's edge," only because his investors were unsupportive of him. With having evidence of the increase in the S&P 500 index, a crash is inevitable. According to Michale Burry, the part of the issue is a general transfer of assets from actively managed funds to passive index funds, which he preferred to call passive investing's IQ drain. Inexperienced investors are jumping into the stock market, and it seems as if the danger is amplified via the new trends. For instance, GameStop went from less than $20 per share to $483. Then down to about $50 per share in less than 30 days. The most noteworthy thing is that Michale generated a profit of $270 million profit from GameStop. There has been a sudden increase in the interest of call options by none other than the inexperienced traders. These call options, when leveraged by professionals, can indeed be profitable. What is the housing bubble? The housing bubble was a period of extremely inflated prices for housing that eventually ended in a market crash. Michale Burry, a hedge fund manager, is credited with being one of the few people to correctly predict the bubble's collapse. Burry noticed that mortgage lenders were offering increasingly risky loans. and that bundling these loans into securities was becoming more common. He believed that the securitization of these subprime mortgages would eventually lead to a financial crisis. In 2005, he bet against the housing market by purchasing credit default swaps. When the housing market collapsed in 2007 to 2008, he made a huge profit. Many people believe that the housing bubble was caused by a combination of factors, including lax lending standards, investors seeking higher returns, and low interest rates. The collapse of the housing bubble led to the financial crisis of 2007 to 2008, which was the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. The crisis caused a wave of foreclosures, unemployment, and bankruptcies. How did Michale Burry predict the housing bubble? In the early 2000s, Michale Burry, a hedge fund manager and former medical doctor, began to notice some troubling trends in the housing market. He noticed that more and more people were taking out subprime mortgages, loans given to borrowers with shaky credit histories. He also noticed that the mortgage-backed securities, MBS, these loans were bundled into were becoming increasingly popular with investors. Burry believed that the housing market was in a bubble, and that it would eventually burst. He took a bet against the MBS market by shorting it, meaning he essentially bet that their value would go down. And he was right. When the housing market collapsed in 2008, the value of MBS went down with it, making Burry a fortune. While some have criticized Burry for profiting off of the housing crisis, it's important to remember that he didn't cause the bubble or the collapse. He simply saw it coming and positioned himself accordingly. What are the consequences of the housing bubble? When the housing bubble popped in 2008, it sent shockwaves throughout the world economy. Millions of homeowners lost their homes to foreclosure, while others saw the value of their homes plummet. The crisis also had a ripple effect on the stock market, with banks and other financial institutions losing billions of dollars. The fallout from the housing bubble is still being felt today. In the United States, many people are still struggling to recover from the financial crisis. And while the US economy has slowly begun to rebound, many experts believe that it will take years for the country to fully recover from the housing bubble. The consequences of the housing bubble are still being felt around the world. In Europe, countries such as Greece and Spain are still struggling with high unemployment and weak economic growth. And in China, where the housing market is also cooling, many people have lost money on their investments. The housing bubble has also led to stricter regulation of the financial industry. In the United States, the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act was passed in response to the crisis. What can we learn from him? Michale Burry is a value investor who made a fortune by betting against the subprime mortgage market. He is an interesting figure because he was able to see the housing bubble for what it was and make a bet against it. Burry's story is a reminder that there is always money to be made by being contrarian. When everyone else is buying, there are always profits to be made by selling. Burry's story also highlights the importance of doing your own research. He spent hours reading SEC filings and talking to investment bankers in order to get a handle on the subprime mortgage market. Finally, Burry's story is a reminder that sometimes the best investments are the ones that no one else is making. By being willing to take on more risk, Burry was able to make a huge profit when the housing market collapsed. In sum, Michale Burry is an excellent example of a value investor who made a killing by being contrarian and doing his own research. So this was our today's video. I hope you all like this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe my channel, and also share it with your friends and family. We will be back soon with a new video. Till then, keep supporting and take care.